the caste and the class relation. Uh, I like to say some words on Marxism per se. In the first half, Comrade TJ elaborately discussed that the significance of our party line and how we developed our party documents in 12th Party Congress. And here actually, Comrade, before developing or before uh, uh, formulating the party line, actually, all communist parties, what they do, they try to understand that what Marxism is and what is the demarcation between Marxism and revisionism. On the basis of Marxism, they formulate the party line. Actually, when we talk about the different Marxist ideas, you will see different Marxist parties are there, Marxist programs are there. Actually, they are having different kind of understanding of Marxism. This different kind of understanding of Marxism, that is actually creating debates and difference and difference of outlook, difference of polemics and difference of party line. So here it is important to understand what Marxism is. See, if we go that our party program or our party line on 1970, yesterday Comrade came said about this thing, that 1970 party line. In 1970 party line, it clearly stated what Marxism is according to their opinion and what revisionism is. They clearly formulated. What they formulated? They formulated that Marxism is to boycott election. Marxism is to boycott class organization, mass movement. Marxism is to go for guerrilla work. Marxism is to base on the hinterland, on the villages surrounding the city. And this is Marxism. And what is revisionism? Revisionism is participating in the election is revisionism. Making mass organization, developing mass organization is revisionism. Developing mass movement is revisionism. Building organizations, giving importance in the working class front or urban areas, that is revisionism. That was said in 1970. If you see that what today we are doing putting exactly the same thing which at that time we said revisionism. Today we are developing class mass organization. Today we are participating in the election. Today we are doing that mass movement we are trying to develop. So why? Because at that time the idea of Marxism and today's idea of Marxism, there are differences. The idea of revisionism at that time and idea of revisionism of today, that is different. So in this way, party line changed. So when we try to understand that why in our case, in our country, the parties understood Marxism as some tactical question, whether we will participate in election or not, whether we will develop mass movement or not, whether we will base on urban area or the rural area. All these type of many tactical questions, they elevated at that time in the strategic position. Why? What is the source of this problem? When we try to understand, we saw that actually here we have tried to copy-paste method of understanding. What China is doing, what Russia is doing. Similarly, there was another thing, another part, another section of the communists who wanted to understand Marxism in the Russian way. In the Russian way, they tried to copy paste the Russian method of formulating. So here we understand that a section of communist people, they understand Marxism in copy paste method. And what is the source of this copy paste method? Copy-paste method, the source of copy-paste method is, actually there is a very strong understanding throughout the world. Globally, it is a very strong current that the societal development of a country will take the same route. This is understanding today we are calling it a mechanical Marxism. The societal development, the development of social development, the path of the social development will take same route, same course and same path in all the countries everywhere. So this was one type of understanding which was called historical materialism, and this is very strong in international Marxism. Gradually it developed. Today, Comrade PJ said that all discussion on Asiatic mode of production was stopped in the 30s. And you see, in the 40s, when Indian Communist Party formulated their task, they totally forgot the caste question. In 1931 program, there was a mention of caste question and they wrote about caste question. But in the 1940s, why they did not mention it? Why they deviated? Why they omitted the entire caste question? Because in the meantime, there was an international development. That international development is that total discussion on Asiatic mode of production was abandoned. That was directly reflected. So, this understanding that path of societal development will take the same course, that is it was understood as Marxism. We have to understand it. And the Marxist time, it happened in the Marxist time. In Marxist time, you know that in the later half of the Marxist political life, then there was a big debate took place on Russia. And Russia, you know, Russia, India, all this eastern side, when communist movements spread in the eastern side, from Western Europe to the eastern side, then Marx noticed that in the vast part of the world, they are taking a different type of societal development, not like Western Europe. So Marx was very interested to understand that Russian development. So there was a debate going on in Russia that whether Russia will take the same route by which the Western Europe traveled, or Russia will take a different route. Russia can take a different route directly through Obshchina to socialism. Obshchina was the collective ownership on land. Asiatic mode of production was actually rooted in this point, that the collective ownership on land, that is not a feudalism in European sense. That is why feudalism Marx did not say. Marx said that Asiatic mode of production. Why? Because here the collective ownership of land in a vast area of the globe, from Russia to India, Marx wrote in Capital. So this question came up. So this debate came up. In this debate, one Mikhailovsky in Russia, you know, one Mikhailovsky, he wrote a piece. That name was Karl Marx. In that piece, Mikhailovsky very much glorified Marx and discussed that Marx said that all over the world, the course of Western Europe will repeat. Then Marx wrote a letter to the editorial board of that newspaper. Letter from Marx to editor of Ozevenia Zapisky in 1877. You please you go through this letter. This letter is available in internet. This is very, very important letter in 1877, but generally Marxist discourse, conventional Marxist discourse generally do not discuss all these things, because I told that mechanical Marxism by this time is very much dominating in international communism. So Marx wrote, I am not reading the letter, but I am reading some line. This letter, Marx, first line, the author of the article, Karl Marx, before the tribunal of Zhukovsky, is evidently a clever man. So Marx is writing to Mikhailovsky. Mikhailovsky is supporter, and he is writing that Mikhailovsky is a very clever man. And he writes that in my account of primitive accumulation, at that time debate was going on that primitive accumulation will will take place in Russia like Western Europe or not. That was the debate. So Marx wrote that when Mikhailovsky is describing primitive accumulation, then he seems a very clever man, and he is here. Marx is writing the chapter on primitive accumulation does not pretend to do more than trace the path by which in Western Europe the capitalist order of economy emerged from the womb of the feudal order of economy. It therefore describes the historic movement which by divorcing the producers from their means of production, while it converts into capitalists those who hold the means of production in possession. In that history, all revolutions are epoch-making, which serves as levers for the advancement of the capitalist class in course of formation, above all those which, after striping great mass of men of their traditional means of production and subsistence, etc. Then Marx is writing that one line that is very important, that this is not a year. That is all, but that is not enough for my critique. What I wrote in Capital, that is a Western European development, but my critique, he is not satisfied with that. He feels himself obliged to metamorphose my historical sketch of the genesis of capitalism in Western Europe into an historico-philosophic theory of the Marche Generale. Marche Generale is a French term that means in bracket English Marx given that general path. Marche Generale imposed by fate upon every people whenever the historic circumstances in which it finds itself. Marx is saying that I am not giving any historico-philosophical idea, a Marche Generale, that everywhere society will develop through the same path which the Western Europe capitalist development took place. So Marx is totally refuted. There is no general path of development of the society. And here Marx is saying that he is saving me by honoring me, because Mikhailovsky was very much glorified Marx in his article. So Marx is saying that by glorifying me, he actually saving me, because he is distorting my theory. And last line he said in that letter, again repeating, thus event strikingly analogous, but taking place in different historic surroundings, led to totally different result. By studying each of these forms of evolution separately and then comparing them, one can easily find the clue of this phenomena. But one will never arrive there by the universal passport of a general historico-philosophical theory, the supreme virtue of which consists in being supra-historical. So we have to understand that Marx very clearly said that there is no Marche Generale. There is no general path of development. If there is no general path of development, then there is no general path of revolution also. Because path of revolution is directly connected to the societal development, in which the Western Europe develops. In the same path, the India did not develop, and India is not developing, because there is no general path, no Marche Generale. This general path idea is actually not Marxism. This is actually Mikhailovskyism, or Mikhailovsky's interpretation of Marxism. Later, it became the dominating Marxism, which today we call the mechanical Marxism. We have to understand this mechanical Marxism appeared as a real Marxism in overall communist movement, not only in India but throughout the globe. According to this, when we counter today, then we are talking about the dialectical interpretation of Marxism. So we can call that mechanical Marxism versus dialectical Marxism. And we have to understand this mechanical Marxism is actually revisionism today. Basically, if you talk about the revisionism, this Mechanical Marxism is actual revisionism, and dialectical Marxism is the main essence of Marxism. I could put all this discussion in a single word, that philosophically, Lenin said many times that concrete analysis of the concrete situation is the essence of Marxism. This is the one single word can replace the whole my discussion previously. But why I put forward this discussion? Because the difference between RI and Red Star, it is not a simple difference. This is a difference between Marxism and revisionism that we have to understand. You cannot understand through this single word only that concrete analysis of concrete situation is Marxism. But basically, here one thing is hiding, that is what the mechanical Marxist idea the communist people basically are doing for long years throughout the globe, that is actually revisionism, that actually Mikhailovsky's interpretation of Marxism, that is refuted by Marx, by himself, and that is not Marxism. There is no general path, no march generala. Therefore, what you have to do? If you do not have any general path, then what you have to do when you formulate the Indian path of revolution or Indian parties, communist parties' political line in India, then what you have to do? You have to see the Indian history, because there is no general path. Then what you have to do? You have to see the concrete reality of India. What happened in history? What is the historical development of Indian society? What is the historical development of class struggle in India? What is the historical development of the communist movement, which comes out from the many progressive fighting, like Bhakti movement, like Buddhist movement, like a lot of movement from Buddha to what Karnataka is Basavarna, from Buddha to Basavarna. All this huge, I say that range, that all the progressive movement which came out in Indian reality, communist movement emerged as a continuation of this progressive movement, and you have to establish communist movement as a continuation of the progressive movement of India. Then only the communist movement will be a real Marxist movement in India. But what we did, that actually, and what the mechanical Marxists are doing today, that is actually they are practicing Mikhailovsky's interpretation of Marxism, but not Marx's interpretation of Marxism. That we have to understand, and this is basically difference between Marxism and revisionism. This is my first. Then if we see the Indian reality, what we will see? We will see that when in the dominating Vedic culture or dominating Vedic society, classes emerged. Everywhere classes emerged throughout the world. But here, classes emerged in a peculiar form. Why? What the peculiar form? Peculiar form is here, it is said that the people are divided into 4 varnas: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya and Shudra. Many people ask, why you were calling it a class division? Because classes are basically what? Classes are basically masses of people surrounding or centering or taking 2 opposite positions of means of production. Now, if you say Manusmriti, go Manusmriti. Very few communists really read Manusmriti. I will request you that before reading even Communist Manifesto, you please read Manusmriti. If you go through Manusmriti, then you will understand what Manu is saying. Manu says, by the virtue of the birth, the Brahmins are having all land, everything. Don't think that when you are giving to the Brahmin, you are giving something to the Brahmin. You are giving his material to him. You are giving his food to him, his clothes to him, because Manu dictates that by the virtue of birth, Brahmins are the owner of all means of production, all wealth. The owner is Brahmins. This is a class. And what he said about the Sudras? He said that Sudras will work. He will work meekly. That means that without any noise, without any resentment, the Sudras will work. But what he will get in return? He will get the Jirnani Vastrani. That means that torn out clothes and the leftover foods by which only he can only survive. Remember what Marx said in Capital. What is workers get? What workers are getting in wages? When Marx discussed wages, what is wage? Wage is actually the value of labor power. Value of labor power. Value of labor power means the labor which is inside the labor power. What does it mean? In very plain terms, it means that worker will get the thing by which he can come to the next day work. Same, but the language are different. But the same thing, that Sudra will get only the subsistence by which the next day he can come to the work. Same thing. What is it? Class. Marx discussed in a different language. Western Europe discussed in a different language. Not only Marx, Smith, Ricardo, they discussed in a different language. And in India, the same discussion on classes, discussion of political economy took place in a different language. Here the language is Brahmin, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Sudra, and it is totally, you read Manusmriti. Manusmriti, it is clearly defined that who will work, what will work, and what he will get. Very clearly. The whole society is divided. You will see the whole society is divided into the actually classes, but it took the form of varnas. So Varna division is actually the class division in India. It originated like that. Then the struggle took place between Varna with Varnas, Varna versus Varna. Brahmin one side, Kshatriya and Brahmin one combination took up, because Rajanna, Kshatriya, they are the ruler. Manusmriti said they are the ruler, they are to rule. And the Brahmins, they are the owner. They are the owner of all means of production, all property. So they took one side. They are the ruling class of India. They formed the ruling class of India. And another side, the toiling masses, the Vaishya and Sudras. Vaishya people, Manusmriti is written, what Vaishya will do? They will do agriculture, they will do trade, and Sudra will do all work. All work. What means? You are producing. You are producing. And what you will get? Jirnani Vastrani. Then rest of the things is surplus value. Whole surplus value will go to whom? The Brahmins and Kshatriyas. Because Brahmin is the owner of everything. So he will get. And the Kshatriyas is he is supposed to rule the land. So he is taking the surplus value. So the whole surplus value is started to go in the hand of the Brahmin Kshatriyas. And these people, these Vaishya and Sudras, they were the real producer of the country. So the class struggle emerged by the form of Varna struggle. So this struggle continues and this system continues. Till date, we discussed, this is the first time a communist party, that is one of the difference, in our difference with Arai people at that time. This is the first time a communist party, in Comrade James said, that 3.1, 3.2, 3.3, this 1, 2, 3, 3.1 to 3.3, it talked about the ancient Indian history. 3.4 is the medieval. From 3.5 it starts the colonial period. This is the first time any communist party understand the reality in its continuity. When you are talking about the dialectical materialism, we are saying, what we say? We say that you have to see matter into its motion. Dialectical materialism, we say that matter into motion. Matter cannot be without motion. So when you are seeing a matter, you have to see in motion. All these things we are generally said in case of dialectical materialism. If you put this dialectical materialism in the history, then it is a historical materialism. In historical materialism, when you are seeing the reality of today, then you have to see it historically. That means you have to see it in its motion. So historically, when we see the Indian society, then we see the Indian society emerged through. Here we wrote that Indus Valley civilization and then the Vedic society and how the Indian classes started and how the monoist state in Indian society 3.3 emerged. We wrote, and therefore we arrived in the conclusion that as a result, caste struggle and gender struggle have been developing as two integral aspects of Indian class struggle from the very beginning. To arrive this conclusion, we analyzed that Indian history very briefly, although, but we do it. Same thing Marx did when Marx discussed Communist Manifesto. Communist Manifesto is the first party program and of the communist movement internationally. And when Marx also started, you see the first line of the Communist Manifesto, what it is written. In the first line it was written that all the history in the human world, that the history of class struggle. So he summed up the history. If you do not sum up the history, you cannot formulate the party line. Marx formulated the party line in the Communist Manifesto. To do this, he discussed history. So here, our friends in RI, they said, we do not need history. We do not need history. We just want to understand that what we have to do today, because they are having in their mind that Mikhailovsky's interpretation of Marxism, not Marx's interpretation of Marxism. That we do not know, we do not want to know history, because there is a general path. That understanding the general path is okay. Therefore, understanding the general idea is okay. So now they are only one to discuss the present. So now there is a difference. That was a difference, and they separated. Now we formulated our party program on the basis of the concrete historical development of India. And now from here today also we are seeing that the struggle which is going on in India, that is the fascism. And the fascism, the root of fascism is Brahminism. The root of fascism is monoism. And you see that Indian reality, that is a very interesting feature of Indian reality or Indian class struggle, is that this monoism, the struggle against monoism started when? At the time of Monu. What was the time of the Monu? Just after Gautam Buddha, when that Mauryan Empire demolished and Pushyamitra Shunga came to the power. And Ambedkar wrote a very fantastic thing, that who was Monu, and he wrote that through the many manuscript and there is especially Puranas, he established that actually Monu's name was Sumati Bhargava. Sumati Bhargava. Who was Sumati Bhargava? Sumati Bhargava was the priest, main priest of Pushyamitra Shunga. Pushyamitra Shunga, that was a counter-revolution. If you go through that revolution and counter-revolution in ancient India, that's a very magnificent write-up of Ambedkar. And Comrade PJ already presented that we think we arrived in this conclusion that monoism is a counter-revolution in India. Monoism, Brahminism, and today's the basis of fascism. All these things are basic root and basic base. That is the base of Indian counter-revolution. So, monoism, the struggle against monoism started when? At the time of Monu. How many years? Mauryan Empire demolished at 173 BC. That means more than 2000 years in India. This struggle against monoism, struggle against Brahminism is going on. Therefore, a continuous. History is the continuity and rupture. That is a double process. A repeating process of rupture and continuation, rupture and continuation, rupture and continuation. But in Indian society, continuation plays more important role than rupture. Continuation plays more important role than rupture. That is why we are fighting more than 2000 years against monoism. And today, it took a very sharp turn. This battle against monoism is taking a very sharp turn when the whole monoism and Brahmanism is playing the basis of Indian fascism. Some communist party, some communist groups, they say in India there cannot be any fascism. Why? Because in their head they have a march general, the general path. And general path means that fascism will come to Western Europe. Fascism is the future of the Western Europe. In a meeting we went, that was a meeting called by PRC. One group came there and they were saying that Dimitrov said that fascism was the most reactionary section of finance capital. In India, where is finance capital? India, you are talking about fascism. India, where is finance capital? That reactionary section of finance capital will come as a fascism. Then here is no finance capital. So they in their head, that is basically, actually, they are thinking that fascism is the feature of Western Europe. But we know that at that time Dimitrov also opposed this. Dimitrov also said, today comrade said about M.N. Roy. M.N. Roy elaborately discussed Indian fascism, and at that time, in 30s and 40s, M.N. Roy pointed out that this RSS is the fascist forces in Indian society. Today, we are understanding so that Indian fascism based on monoism and Brahmanism. So therefore, our party line, we have to understand that today our party line on based on not any pragmatical outlook. Many parties today, they are emphasizing the caste movement or caste struggle. But what the idea is? Idea is that there are many big caste organizations are there, anti-caste organizations are there, especially Dalit movements. Dalit movements are very powerful and Dalit organizations are very big. So if we talk about Dalit movements, if we talk about Dalit struggle, then we can drag these forces to our fold. That is the understanding. There is no comprehensive historical understanding. There is only the pragmatic understanding that if we talk about Dalit movement, then we can drag them to our fold. So many Dalit organizations accuse communists that when you are talking about the caste question, basically it is a tactical group. Tactically, you are saying tactically. Why they are accusing? Because it is correct that many communist organizations, they do not have any comprehensive understanding of Indian history. From there, they did not arrive the question of caste struggle. They are only analyzing the caste question pragmatically. So very correctly, some Dalit organizers, they said that communists are handling it tactically. But for us, it is not a tactical question. For us, it is a strategic question. To understand the Indian reality, to understand the Indian class struggle, we analyze the Indian history, and then only we arrive in this formulation that in India, caste struggle and gender struggle, comrade BJ elaborately explained that what is called gender struggle, not only women's struggle, the totality gender struggle he analyzed. So gender struggle and caste struggle, these two integral aspects of class struggle in Indian perspective. And for reaching this, we paid some cost. For reaching this conclusion, we paid some cost. A group left us, and there is a split took place for taking this line. But we thought that no compromise should be done on the case of a party line, because if party line is wrong, then even a big party cannot do any fruitful thing. So party line is very important question. So understanding the party line, we have to. That is why I started the discussing the question of Mikhailovsky and Marx's letter to Jablonski, because Marxism in coming days, the Marxism and revisionism, this polarization will take place on this ground, the mechanical Marxism versus the dialectical Marxism, on that basis, not previously, not like previously, on some tactical question. Marxism and revisionism will not be analyzed or defined. It will be redefined as Marxism, real Marxism is the dialectical Marxism and mechanical Marxism is revisionism. We have to understand this.